with perhaps the best intentions, were they?
Yeah, I don't think that the events are collapsible to any narrative. So obviously it is, I think the best narrative that you can get from this is that it's a bad idea to run a story. I mean, the way Greg Gutfeld referred to this is a story that was too good to be checked. The facts were really not verified at all. But you know, after the kind of rebuttal narrative came out, kind of showing the full 2-hour video of the events leading up to this odd confrontation between the Covington boys and this Indigenous man, I think once that rebuttal came out, people were kind of rushing to post more videos of these Covington kids doing very questionable, if not outright racist things. And I think obviously that is somewhat relevant, but not really at all. I don't think any of the parties in this really need to be investigated any further. Obviously, it cannot be boiled down to one black and white narrative, no pun intended. But yeah, I think that there's definitely blame to go around. Yeah, for sure.
I just want to reiterate, it's not just that journalists jumped on this story or that social media memes jumped on the story and went in one direction. When we got that longer video, folks were also immediately doing this knee-jerk reaction where we were having the same sort of like unsubstantiated claims the other direction. Right. And I think that that's a problem as well. Okay.
And James Rosen, I wanted to ask about the initial Twitter account where this video was published. Seems to be anonymous. It's now been suspended by...
I read a couple of think pieces after this whole thing came out, and there were a couple just talking about just like the visceral response that some people got to just the sight of I think his name is Nick Sandman's face, the kid who was smirking at the Indigenous person. Him having this weird kind of bizarre confrontational smile with the "Make America Great Again" hat on. Just the visual reactions people have to that, to just that view, that reflects the kind of bad, poor assumptions that people immediately have when they see somebody who looks like that. And I do think that's a problem. I agree with what you said, is that like you don't have a right not to be responded to and judged as somebody looks at you. But think about it, these kids are very young, they're in high school. Do they really understand the cultural ramifications for looking that way in public? And do they really deserve even close to be cracked down on and scrutinized in the way that they have been, and not even close?
It's I really wish that this was more of a learning moment, because I think that this is an opportunity for folks to understand how other people perceive them and what that means, and to really have a real cultural discussion about the MAGA hats, about what's now been termed the patriarchal smirk, about Nathan Phillips and the proper way to respond to that kind of drumming, that kind of spiritual dance, etc. What would be appropriate, what's not. And I think a lot of this here is just cultural incompetence.
Your underreported
this
story.
week was National School Choice Week. It's when parents, policymakers, and nonprofits around the country celebrate taking educational decisions for their kids' educations back into their hands.
Okay. Well, there it is. And that is all for this week. I'm Adam Byrne.